hello and welcome to Follow Everton. For those that just have been keeping tabs, it was about 10 or so minutes ago. We had our announcement for the lineups. So we've got about an hour before kickoff. So 10 a.m. here in East Coast of the United States. It's 2 p.m. in UK and 10 p.m. out where Adam's at. So Adam, a fan of the channel and colleague of mine back in Oz, is joining us as well, along with Corey, who you probably all well know from now out in Liverpool. So welcome, guys. Do we want to go straight into the announcement of the lineups?
Yeah, a couple of changes, but the biggest one, I'm sure everyone's going to have a comment on this. No Jared Branthwaite, he's on the bench. Michael Keane in for him. Very gutsy call. Cotton, let's see if it pays off.
Adam, you feel like, we've got a politically correct calling it gutsy. Do you think it's gutsy or do you think it's reckless? What are your thoughts?
I think over the last probably quite a few years, a lot of Evertonians have had quite a bit to say about Keane, and they don't want him anywhere near the team. And I would say over the last couple of weeks, he's actually, he's held his own, and he's got a goal or two, and he's been quite solid at the back, and you can't actually say that he's actually been a lot of it to be like he's at fault. So I think he's actually played quite well. We all know Tarkowski's been carrying a bit of an injury, but if Coleman's not in the side, I don't think we've seen Dyche put the captain ban on Pickford. So I think the whole captaincy thing around Tarkowski is maybe that's why he's, he's obviously dominant in the air. He's strong, he's physical, he loves a good challenge and a good tackle. But I think it's because of his leadership that's why he's out there, and he's still got the captain's armband, in my opinion, and that's why he's he's getting his starting jobs over Branthwaite, and Keane's obviously playing quite well. So yeah, it's one of those where he's more comfortable playing Keane over Branthwaite. But obviously, all the Everton fans, we all know that Branthwaite's a hell of a player, and he'd be good to see over Keane or Tarkowski. But
yeah, I think I'm quite often reticent to show my frustration with this because, okay, well, Branthwaite's coming back. Don't risk an injury. Okay, last week maybe he was just injured. No, he played 15 to 30 minutes. They've shown him in the lineup or sort of in training all week. And the other piece where they say a traditional manager, which we like to call Dyche, the do not change a winning squad. Okay, you beat Ipswich 2-0. And then you got your ass handed to you, and we got lucky with Fulham dropping back deep, and we equalized 1-1. We've made this media frenzy of how emotional Goodison Park is. But let's be honest, we were shit last week. We let them come on us. We weren't good enough. It wasn't just Tarkowski or Keane that were poor, but if we want to be moving into a new stadium, step one, okay, guarantee results. You know what we need? Not just to say solid at the back. You want someone progressive, solidifying a midfield. We don't even have Decore today. We need someone that can actually step in, win the ball back, and get us some results. And okay, King can score a goal, but the reality is Branthwaite actually is quite a menace in the box too. So it's a cop out from Dyche again. If he wins, he'll get away with it in the media. If he loses, I'm not sure, but it's just this annoying frustration that you're going to see from a lot of fans.
Yeah. And I think, So, sorry, you're saying, Corey?
No, go on, mate. You go first, lad.
Yeah, what are your opinions on Patterson? Getting him a starting role, because I just feel like at the moment Dyche just doesn't have that confidence in him starting a game, and he's obviously had he said in one of his press conferences, he's come off a massive long injury. So it's quite hard to just throw him in and get him going again. But over someone like Coleman or Young. But Patterson's very attacking, and he could probably play as a winger. I think Coleman back in the day actually started up there before he went as an actual right back. So
I think the issue with Patterson and Dyche, apart from potential personal issues, is that he doesn't want an attacking fullback. He doesn't want what's considered like a wing back these days, does he? He wants the likes of Ashley Young, even Coleman with his legs, to get to the halfway line, barely cross that, sit there, old school, proper fullback, right back kind of thing. So I don't think, unless we really need to, we're going to see Patterson. I can see him playing James Garner right back over Patterson when he's fit. I disagree with that, but I think that's how bad it is.
Well, he played James Garner there, as a right back, but then, he does get up. He does play. He's pace. He does have pace. He's got skill. He can play a ball. So he's not your traditional right back. So yeah, whereas Coleman is, but yeah, the younger version of Coleman was more attacking minded. He was all the way up, pretty much a top right wing, and he was crossing it right off the touchline. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what. If the freaking group, when they come in, what sort of arrangements they can do, who they're going to bring in, and then what sort of repercussions that's going to have on this squad. Because, they could, I would love to see someone like Branthwaite and O'Brien, the pair of them playing as a partnership. I think that would be quite bright, that future of the centre back pairing.
Yeah, but he needs to get back in the team now. Don't he, Branthwaite? And how's he going to do that? Dyche is constantly picking Keane over him.
So, Adam, I'm not sure if you caught tabs on the press conference, but Emma's doing a quick synopsis here. Basically, to put it short, they said, why isn't Patterson playing? And they said, well, he's not ready yet. And then someone said, well, why don't you put him at right wing? Then the response was, well, I don't like to play players out of position. Youth development squads, and the focus these days with scouts and everything is play them in one position and don't play players out of position. And then to your point, well, you play James Garner at right back when he's a center mid. What the hell? It's a cop-out response that no one called him on. So he played like 2-level chess, but yet a 3-level chess response that everyone kind of sees, but says, oh, whatever. It just means Patterson isn't going to play. That's how I see it.
I think the only reason why that was the case is when Mikolenko was out injured, and then you have Ashley Young over to left back, and then that fills the void for Garner to come in at right back. So I think that's where he had that. He didn't have a lot of plays left in his playbook there, so I reckon he had to force that. It was almost forced, essentially, that move.
Yeah. But a right back is at right back. The other question that we've heard a bit now, it used to be Dyche fit, and now he's converted it so it isn't looking on him. He calls it Premier League fit. Would you think that Jared Branthwaite is Premier League fit today?
Yes. When he come on at the end of the Ipswich game, the Fulham game, he was getting involved. He was getting stuck in. He looked like he's up to speed, essentially. He's been training with the team for weeks. He's had a couple of under-23 games. If he wasn't that fit, he'd have been playing academy games still while he got his fitness. So he's clearly still fit. He clearly just wants to start Michael Keane over him.
Yeah, I baited you into that one.
Don't worry, I don't need no bait. Running head first.
Yeah, it's like, okay, he had a groin injury how long ago? Yeah, and it's been like 6 weeks of playing in reserves and everything. So, like, the reality is he doesn't want to take risks. And right now, Branthwaite seems like a risk, which is to everyone other than in their little, let's call
circle.
It the house, the circle of those at the Everton Football Club and the management. We see it so differently, but he knows the inside scoop and he won't show us why. He's just going to say, well, I know more than you do, so you're wrong. Yeah, I guess.
Not exactly, though. I mean, you say that, but fans watch games. There's times last season when people were telling him to put Branthwaite in, and he did. He kept Keane in. And then eventually, a Tonkin by Villa, we put him in. Things changed. Fans aren't stupid. Fans watch as much football as managers do. Fans see it from a different perspective as well. So fans can see with their eyes. They might not see what goes on in training, but when you see what happens on the pitch and you see that he is clearly a better player than Michael Keane, despite Keane's good form, he's better on the ball, he's more aggressive, he's more confident. So I just don't know why you wouldn't put your best centre back in. The Reds, they wouldn't keep Van Dijk out if it was Gomez and Canate in. If Van Dijk was fit, he comes straight in. If you're Spurs and you've got Van der Ven, he's been out, he comes back. He doesn't sit on the bench. He comes straight back in because he makes the defensive line a better team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a very slow back line.
Well,
And
yeah. When Branthwaite plays, he gives us a size advantage, he gives us a pace advantage, and he gives us a play a ball out from the back advantage. He gives us so many more options when we play him. And then if you put him next to someone like Tarkowski, he's a great sweeper. He's a very hard tackler, so he'll win a lot of aerial duels. They both were so. I think that's where that partnership is quite good, is what we've seen last season. It was it was a very, very, very strong partnership, and that's why Hansby got so many good results and clean sheets. So I think it was second top three in the Premier League.
Yeah, and I think as well it helps with the defence, because when Keane plays, we play a lot deeper. So there's that extra bit of space between the defence and the midfield. When Branthwaite's on, he steps up a little bit more, which closes that space up. Teams that would typically pass around our midfield, they don't have the space to be able to do that. Something we'd have probably seen a difference with a Fulham when they were passing through. If Branthwaite steps in, there's that little bit less space for the players to make, to play, essentially. We lacked that with Keane playing.
so I think, to that point, now that we don't have Branthwaite in the starting lineup, then all of a sudden you need a third person in midfield that occupies that space to close it down, meaning we can't press high up the pitch as much, causing turnovers, or we're worried. Yeah. So if we were to flip that to looking at the starting lineups and how we think we'll set up, we've got a bit of time, but let's do that. This is what SofaScore projects the squads to look like today. So another big piece for us to talk about is another relatively locked player on the right-hand side until this season, where it is Jack Harrison. And today, Jesper Lindstrom comes in his place.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad decision, to be honest. If he'd have played Harrison, I wouldn't have been too disappointed either. Especially if Southampton go with a back five, probably want to be a bit more pressing. Jesper Lindstrom will break that line, try and get behind. So hopefully it'll cause a little bit more indecision between that back three. Try and get in between the centre backs, or even try and isolate a wide centre back if one of the wing backs go too far forward. So it's a good decision, to be honest. I wouldn't have been too upset if it was Harrison instead, but I understand where he's coming from, and I agree with that decision.
So, yeah, there's one thing I just want to quickly note on this, is that last game we saw Dwight McNeil get subbed. I think it was in this 70-plus minute mark. I think it was a bit of a knock to his knee. He wasn't pictured in training at all, yet he still starts, straight into the team after being injured. Doesn't train, and he's straight in. He's essentially someone like a Son, where Son would, he would get injured and then he won't actually feature in training, yet he still starts. So what's the go there? If someone like Branthwaite's fully fit, he's played Premier League games, he's proven, yet he's fully fit, and then he doesn't even get a start in. Like that's where that's a bit of a head scratcher for me. Obviously, we know Dwight McNeil is very capable as well. I'm not saying he's not. He's just, yeah.
So I think the response goes back to Tazul's previous comment that I'll bring up again. What the hell is Premier League fit? It's whatever Dyche wants it to be. If he thinks he's got squad depth to cover, maybe he won't risk it. If he needs someone in that position, and Dwight, in his opinion, he needs, you'll see him in the squad. So Premier League fit, kind of true, but it's kind of subjective to Dyche.
Yeah, it's his cop-out. It's if he wants you to play. Now, that will probably be down a lot to fitness. It'll be down to a lot to what he's seen in training as well. But it is essentially a cop-out. He's missed the training session. If he's going by sticking to his guns and his principles, McNeil wouldn't play. And that's not me saying I don't want him to play, because I think he's really good in that role, better than the other alternatives. But if he was being honest, you'd probably see Jack Harrison on the right, Njai on the left, or Lindstrom Njai in the middle, or Lindstrom in the middle. So take what, like Sean Dyche says, with a pinch of salt.
Yeah, I suppose no Abdoulaye Doucouré in the squad today as well. So if we're stretched,
I reckon he's sick. That's my guess. I reckon he's got a bug or something, because he was featured in training as well. It's very strange that he's just not even on the bench. I reckon he's sick or something, or he's got injured. We don't know about it.
They said something came up. Then they showed him in training that he's not here. So, yeah, it could be a sickness bug, or it's a little niggling injury that you think he's over, and then you play with too much confidence, open up, really play at 100%, and you tweak the same thing again, and we don't know what it is. So maybe.
And on another note as well, DCL starting. What do we think about that after Beto's performance? I don't think I've actually seen a Everton striker put in that much passion after a goal celebration than what he showed last week. What do you think?
Not one that's legal anyway, because there's a previous number 7 who used to throw blue flares.
Yeah.
I think starting Dom is the correct decision. He leads the line a bit better. He holds the ball well. So over the course of 50, 60 minutes, he's who you want to lead the line, bring other players into it. I think he makes the rest of the team tick better than Beto does. He works in the system. But he needs to start bringing Beto on sooner in games, not just for the last 5-10 minutes, when it looks like either the game plan's not working or Dom's not having a good game. You bring Beto on, change to a front two, like for like, whatever, but play a different kind of game, and that's what Beto does to what Dom does. He needs to change things. He needs to roll the dice.
Or do you think he should take out someone like Mangala or Gay and actually bring on Beto and keep DCL on to it actually? Because DCL, we look better when he plays. He does hold the ball up. He wins his aerial duels. So, but having someone up next to him like Beto, to the pair of them to work in conjunction with each other, I think that because every time we see a like-for-like replacement DCL over Beto, the game changes when Beto comes on. He doesn't do what DCL does. And I think that's where we come unstuck, is that there's too much of a drastic change when he replaces him for DCL and Beto comes in straight and basically tries to do what DCL does. But he can't do that. So, I think he needs to, Beto needs to use his physicality and DCL needs to work off that and run the channels behind him or vice versa. But the pair of them need to work in conjunction with each other. And I think that's where we come unstuck a little bit. The game plan seems to get taken out the window a bit when they just do a swap for swap, in my opinion.
I think the issue with that is if you do that, we go to either a 4-4-2 or, like I said, if you take the deep play midfield off, we just we're not the best in midfield anyway, and we really, really struggle. I could see it working. I couldn't see it working on the Dyche because he wouldn't change the system. But the only way I could see that potentially working is either if your fullbacks got up further, help support the midfield, or if you went, let's say, 3 in midfield, like a 4-3-1-2 kind of thing. A number 10 being creative, floating around the 2 lads up front, but you still need to keep the 3 in midfield then. Because I think we need, no matter how we play, we need to pack out that midfield because we really, really struggle to keep possession anyway in that midfield area.
So I have a thought on how we could shake this up a little bit, because I agree going 4-4-2 for too long might be risky, but you could have a staggered substitution approach with this, especially we don't have so Beto's the only real striker alternative. Broja and Chimiti are out. We also don't have Decore in the middle. So we're a little bit thin. So what we could, and Dwight McNeil coming back from an injury, maybe he's not fully fit to play the entire match. So either that or Illiman and Jai get subbed off like he always does around 80 minutes. Not sure why, other than when we play a low block, he doesn't win aerial duels. So maybe that's simply the reason. But let's say it's 70 minutes. Dyche makes an early for him substitution. You either take McNeil off for Illiman and Jai, and then what you do temporarily is you decide I'm going to play 4-4-2 with DCL and Beto. DCL can, when we're in possession, drop a little bit shorter, either to receive and do flick-ons, or just kind of play in that an advanced playmaker role of the 10 for a brief period to give the other squad something to look at. And then the next substitution, based on how that's going, you then either say, well, I want to bring in Armstrong to do a 4-3-2-1, or you decide, okay, maybe now it's time to bring on Harrison, and then make him in the center there, or keep Dwight in the middle and Jai on the left, whoever you keep. So that's an idea that I think would be kind of interesting to temporarily. It's not like you're doomed for the entire match then to say, well, I made a bad sub. It's one that you can back out of on the next substitution and kind of reshape it again and give them another look to deal with.
Yeah, the only issue with that is, and it's down to the manager, is he's not flexible enough that he he would change the system one way and then change the system another way. He'd probably just want to change the system and ride it out. Like we said, he doesn't want to make changes, does he? Doesn't like to make changes. So, and while I do think it's an option that we could and should explore, Sean Dyche as a manager, I don't think he would do that. I think that's a common theme, isn't it, when we talk about things that potentially could help Everton, stuff that we think could or should happen, and stuff that Sean Dyche would and will do.
So the Blues was bringing up in the chat here, how do we know he's fit? I suppose at least he's about 20 Dyche fit because he came on as a sub in the last match. Do you see the tactic of we're down late, King goes up with Beto happening again, and then Branthwaite's in for the last 20 minutes or so?
Yeah. I mean, just to respond to the Blues, it's more a case of, in my eyes, that he's played him. He's mentioned in training that he's fit. He mentioned last week in his press conference, didn't say anything about a lack of fitness. He said that Jared Branthwaite is fit and good to go. So you would assume from that he's fit and good to go this week. He's just, like last week, he's picked Michael Keane over him.
Yeah. You know what worries me a little bit? I think Emma mentioned this as well in the comments regarding Branthwaite. You reckon his agent's got some feelers out for sure because, he'll be sitting on the bench going, why am I not getting a game when I played essentially all last season?
This one. Yeah.
Yeah, that worries me a little bit. And he's surely be thinking in his head.
So I flick him up.
Yeah.
So the Blues in the chat that was also saying that, okay, we can't believe after all this time people still think they know more than Dyche. He sees their fitness levels, we don't. Here's the thing. Dyche is either lying to us and he becomes similar to an Eddie Howe or a Mikel Arteta, which is a tactical decision, granted. So if that is the case, bear with me, my screen's doing something funny there, so I'm going to duck out of that. So I'll respond back. So if we're now saying that Jared Branthwaite is not fit enough to play, then don't say he's fit and ready to go. It's one or the other. You can't say, well, he's kind of fit to subject to my needs and I know more than you, which he does. Of course he's going to. Their entire fitness stuff is. But unless you're just lying and saying, oh, no, we better defend really carefully and we have an hour and a half to change our squads or before kickoff, do you really think that's going to make such a difference tactically to the opposition that that's a benefit? Or just tell us the truth then, if he's really injured.
Yeah, and look, managers can kind of obscure the truth. We know that. We understand they can be doing that tactically, like you said, like Arteta, etc. But there's a level to it in terms of it's a tactical decision. The likes of Branthwaite, where the fans want him to play. What's he gained from saying Branthwaite's fit and not playing him? It's different than kind of making that technical decision with the likes of Rico Lewis when you've got different types of players. I just feel like he's doubling down. I understand where he's coming from because he wants that stability, but it's just not the right decision. Let's just all be honest and say it's not the correct decision to not play your best centre back, someone who makes your team a million times better when he plays.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on a little bit to. I think there was a comment here about talking about the commitment to the old Burnley players, but I'll spin that a little bit. Burnley last year play a whole lot like Southampton have tried this year. They are winless in the league. They won in the League Cup midweek. I know Corey and I had talked a little bit about Southampton, but Adam, had you had much of a chance to watch them throughout this year and see how they play?
Haven't, no, but I have seen quite a few highlights of Cameron Archer flying down, attacking fullbacks and stuff, and centre backs. So he's, I think, definitely someone we want to watch out for. And have they got Dibbling as well? Is he on the bench?
He's on the bench, I think, this week.
Yeah, let me check here real quick. Dibbling's on the bench.
Yeah, okay, because he's a very attacking right winger. So yeah, I was just going to say we definitely need to watch out for Cameron Archer though, because remember that goal that he scored against with Sheffield United against us. I think it was him. It
was. Branthwaite just came back, and Cameron Archer scored. It was this kind of like blocked shot, and it was halfway right around the penalty spot, and Archer came in. So he's certainly scored against us before, but he hasn't done great this season. Adam Armstrong hasn't looked that effective in the Premier League, but scored midweek. I think he scored a penalty.
He's
I think
very
he
clinical,
scored
right?
just
Like
last time he
he's
was there as well. The opening game
Yeah,
2 seasons ago.
yeah, he did. Yeah. He's a very clinical striker. He can definitely find the back of the net, so he'd be someone to watch out as well, I would say. I think we just need to win our midfield battles. I think Gay needs to have a really good game again, like he did last week, and just put a lot of blocks in, a lot of tackles, and then just the turnovers as well kill us. So we just can't turn the ball over in midfield.
Yeah. So the other thing that we've noticing is they're playing 5 at the back at home. Seems kind of strange. If this is a match, if in their minds, hey, we need a win, we need a result, this might be the one. Do we see them playing 5 at the back the whole time? From what I've seen, they're a little bit Dyche-like, where they actually keep a few players back, but either the left wing back or the right wing back will actually play progressive and join the midfield. And then
Yeah,
they'll
Carl Walker
back.
Peters will probably play quite forward, and then so out of possession. Out of possession they'll be 4 at the back. So in possession they'll be 4 at the back. There'll be 5 because he'll push back. But yeah, he's definitely someone we want to watch out for. He's got a lot of pace as well. So.
And I think as well, 5 at the back, when you've got wing backs like Manning and Walker Peters who get forward, it allows you to turn that back 5 into a midfield 5. So again, they'll be able to pack that midfield. They play that possession game. That will be them wanting to win that midfield battle, and then keep applying the pressure on ourselves, where we have to essentially counter it with the way we play. Is players getting in between the wing backs and the centre backs, or getting in between the centre backs as well. Illiman and Jai, Jesper Lundstrom will probably be the main tactic for doing that. Hopefully, we don't just lump it up to Dom because he's going to be outnumbered by 3 centre backs. So that's what we'll need. Lindstrom and Jai getting into the channels, getting in between the defenders, and then essentially counting on the fact that they're not very good at marking and keeping their position when teams attack them on the counter.
Yeah, I think we're definitely gonna come unstuck. If obviously they're playing 5 at the back and we're having Dom push real high, we can't just keep on loading it up to him because he's probably going to have 2 or 3 guys on him at all times. So, he's as good as he is. He's not going to beat 2 guys in the air because they'll probably have 1 guy go up with him, 1 guy stay down for the loose ball, and then they'll just tap it to their holding midfielder. So yeah, we've got to be careful of that. We can't just keep bombing it up to him. We've got to play a little bit more wisely if they're going to stick 2 guys on him.
Yeah, certainly. I agree.
So what I think could be really interesting today, or interesting might be a strong word, and I'll quickly respond to Reggie's question. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be available to do a watch along today. I'm in at my wife's parents' place, but without an ideal setup for it. But it's also a few family commitments that are going to happen that I need to jump onto. So what could easily happen is I talk for about 30 minutes and all of a sudden I have to cut the stream, come back for 10 minutes, cut the stream again, which isn't really ideal for a watch along, even though I do realize it's going to be a blackout or hard to watch games legally in the UK at this time slot. So really unfortunate there. I suppose there might be some other avenues and radio channels that can do the coverage, but apologies there. Once I'm back in Australia, I think I'll be trying to do more setups like that. But next weekend I'll be traveling as well, so that I won't be available for the West Ham match. But quite likely the Brentford, and after that, I'm going to try and get myself back into more consistent watch-along coverage. What I was going to bring up, though, was, okay, when we played the Burnley squad last year, which, let's say, put it this way, they like to hold possession, but they're kind of trying to attack with a wet butt, like a plastic butter knife on a plane. Like, they don't have the effect of really cutting through teams, but they like holding possession. These guys might be doing slightly better at holding possession, but they give away more mistakes. So what I could easily see us happening is we play similar to what we did against Ipswich. We let them have the ball, and they look really kind of nervous holding possession in the back 3. They play quite a lot of numbers behind the ball, and then they kind of keep causing themselves some sloppy turnovers, and then eventually their own fans get against them. They start to try and press forward. Maybe Manning and Peters try and build width and progress up the pitch. and all of a sudden their back three kind of struggles on a turnover with more pace and Njai and Lindstrom with DCL, and all of a sudden they can't hold their line like they did midweek, and we can get in behind. The question then is, I don't want DCL to have it at his feet. I want it in Njai, McNeil, or Lindstrom's on those turnover opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on, mate. Go on, Adam, mate.
Yeah, no. So I was just saying, Illiman and Dyer, like if he's got the pace. I think Hardwood Bellis, I think he'd have the pace over him. He's someone that needs to really have a good game tonight, and today. There's where time zone you're in, but he really needs to get like behind Walker Peters, and then have a go at Hardwood Bellis, and then Dom basically needs to try and cut in between the two centre backs. That's sort of what we need to see. And then Dwight's, just on the edge of that 18-yard box there. I think a setup like that will probably work against them.
Yeah, and late on in the game as well, if we're doing that and we're causing that kind of indecision between the centre-backs, we've mentioned about bringing Beto on. If you bring him on late, that should be the kind of player then who, again, especially if there's two up front, but he will move about. He will keep that back line moving. So late on in the game, when the mind and the body is a little bit more tired, hopefully we get an extra body up with Dom. It's not just Beto, and we can certainly take advantage of that. Like I said, teams that play in the back three, unless you do a low block, you can very easily get behind them and catch them out of position. Because there's a lot more indecision, a lot more factors to take into account as opposed to a two-man partnership. So hopefully, again, late on in the game, if we're not leading by that point, we're able to.
Yeah, I think early on, if we had someone like Lindstrom being able to get in behind him and whip a cross in, he's got a really good delivery. If he can use his energy and his pace early, and then later on in the game, when he's tired, we can sub him off, put Harrison in, and then Harrison will be, he'll be fresh and he'll be able to whip a couple crosses in. I think that's because I think it was later on in the game as well when a couple of games ago, when he took that ball on the volley and then did a half a pirouette and then put that cross in to Dwight. Something like that, that's when he's effective, is when he gets the ball out of his feet straight away. He doesn't try and take on a player. He just gets the ball out, whips across in. He's very dangerous then.
Yeah, he's got a nice bit of pace as well. So if he's not trying to beat his man, like you said there, if he's focusing on just getting that little bit of space, he can whip a ball. Doesn't need to be height, it just needs to be whipped in.
Yep.
Yeah, so previously we had talked a bit about Dom and Beto potentially playing together. To James Graham's point, I wanted to thank him for being a premium member of the channel. The real question becomes, okay, if we have two players up front and let's say we're pressing for a goal, so we don't want DCL playing that as a number 10 role. You want him kind of faced up against the back central three. How do you see? Do you see DCL preferring to go to the right side and Beto going down the channel by Bednarek and Harwood Bellis? It seems that's the way they like to do it. When they're lone strikers anyway. DCL prefers it the right side and Beto the left?
It's not, for me, it's not a case of right or left, what side one goes on. Ideally, you'd want Dom to stay central. By that point, he probably won't have the legs to be trying to run past players, run the channels, but Beto will, and he'll very much play that role. So whether it's left or right, you'd be relying on Beto to be on his toes, trying to turn the defence, and then Dom hunting in that kind of midfield area, stay there, do what he did best under Ancelotti, and stay in the middle, stay in the box, and poach a couple of goals.
Yeah, like you're saying, Corey, again, with Dom, the best we've seen of Dom, in an Everton shirt, was with Carlo Ancelotti, and all he said was stay in that box. And then, if you remember with Beto coming from Udinese, a lot of his impact came from the wing. And then that goal that he scored, I think it was the 3-ball from Patterson on the right wing, and Beto came through. It was against Newcastle. Beto came through on the channel on the right wing, and it was a 3-ball from Patterson. And then Beto took on a player, shrugged him off, and then went through the keeper, and he scored. But later on in the game, Beto's going to be running the channels, and his physicality will be quite a bit for someone like Kyle Walker-Peters.
Do you want to go, Chris? Sorry, mate. I've been speaking.
Oh, sorry, I was distracted by Mr. Blue Sky's question about the referees today. So I have that on the bottom there. For those interested, and I don't want to fully deject the conversation. So on the bottom is the referees that you can have a glance at. So Corey, you go ahead and respond, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone over it. Kyle Walker-Peters is dangerous. I can't see our fullbacks attacking him very much. So they will. I just think their wing backs will press forward and support the midfield. We know that Kyle Walker-Peters is a very capable player, very underrated. Adam's already mentioned that. Man, and again, technically decent going forward. I'm just repeating myself now, but it is a case of tucking in behind them from our wide players. Vitali and Ashley, they're not going to go very far across that halfway line today, I don't think.
Yeah, I'll be a devil's advocate on that because I think at times that'll be absolutely correct, but there are periods in almost every match that we give away the ball a lot, and all of a sudden we seem to pin squads in. So what I do see us doing for a brief period, maybe it's the 30th to the 45th minute in the first half or something like that, we all of a sudden are pressing them in a bit. Njai is kind of in that spot between Bellis and Bednarek, turning a lot of their players and pulling a second defender. And that gives a lot of space for Mikalenko to do his occasional run forward and have that entire channel. There will be periods where I think you'll see him going forward, but at the same time, if we're out of possession, you will not see Mikalenko in an advanced possession. He'll be the whipping boy, like, Carly, get back, Carly, the whole time, just yelling at him to be in position. Similar for Ashley Young, but I think Ashley Young, not saying Vitali's fast, but Ashley Young's pace isn't a strength of his anymore. It's knowing when to go forward, so I don't think he'll be progressing as much on that side.
Yeah,
won't be as pace of that.
Like you're saying, Chris, about Ndai, if he brought someone like Bellis and Walker-Peters into that corner, pushes them quite far back into their own half, and then you get someone like Mikalenko stepping up into that gap. We've seen a couple of times where he's actually not attacked the defense too much, but he's actually held basically in between the halfway line and the 18-yard box. Well, what he waits for, he waits is from that pass from the left winger, whether it's Dwight or Ndai, like to pass the ball back, and then he will try and whip the cross in to someone like DCL. That's what we want to see a bit more of. That's when I think he's got a really good left foot. Like that's what we want to see a lot more of. Mikalenko get into those areas as opposed to the old overlap, because I don't think he's that type of a player, as we all know.
Yeah, and the crosses that he puts in on the overlap aren't very, very good. But like
Correct,
you said,
yeah.
He has got a decent left foot on him. And when he puts the ball in from deep, it's not always lofted. He's still got good pace on it. So I think he feels a lot more comfortable with that bit of space and time in front of him. When he's rushed to kind of make that snap decision, he's poor. You do need an overlapping fullback in the modern game. So I think going forward might not be our first, our most important transfer to make. But for now, yeah,
he's a solid defender, but yeah.
So I think Tazul brings up a funny point here. Mikalenko gets vertigo every time he passes the halfway line. I'm not even sure it's that. And for those that aren't huge, like Lord of the Rings fans or what have you, that's fine. But there's a meme that goes around where you've got like a hobbit. I think it was Bilbo Baggins running out of the Shire going, I'm going on an adventure. I feel like it's like twice a match he's allowed to go forward. Otherwise, he's yelled at for like any mistake that he's not in position. So I could see occasionally him going forward, but it's almost like he's afraid to go forward. Either he runs into the player that's in front of him, or if there's a whole wing, he just runs kind of off the leash, you might say.
He's probably I think that might be a lot of the tactics that a lot of the coaching staff have implied, that on a turnover, which we have a lot of, we need someone like Mikalenko to come in, because if Tarkovsky sometimes gets carried out too far to the right or Keane, because Young's just been bypassed, he's too far up. So then you have someone like Mikalenko coming in to cover that centre-back position and stepping over and shifting across the play. So I think that is important that he does stay in that position. Yeah, it's not a case of, I can't go past this line. We've seen him go way past the halfway line at times. And then, he's been whipping the ball in from 3/4 all the way up the pitch into the 18-yard box. So, I think, but in a game like this against Southampton, he definitely needs to get up and start whipping some crosses in and progressing forward.
And who was it he was talking about? Walker Peters. We've brought this up a few times. Mr. Blue Skies thinking Walker Peters will be a huge impact. And if he's in a really advanced position, Mykolenko has to stay back. But what that does, if Mykolenko occupies Walker Peters, then all of a sudden Njai, Dwight McNeil, Calvert-Lewin can kind of take on that left side. Idrissa Gana Gueye can have one of his wanders up the pitch, and maybe he can have a surprise goal. He's got a few of them in him. He almost struck a beautiful equalizer last week. So he either shoots terribly or he has one of these wonder strikes. So I think if Mykolenko has to stay back, it's not the end of the world, but he better be occupying players instead of just being told to, just in case, you know?
Yeah. Dwight's in that hole. I think he doesn't need massive fitness for the way he plays. So they are going to occupy a lot of our players. I've said they're going to crowd us out in midfield. Especially with that back line as well. They are going to try and just overload us and outman us. So we just need to be, the players just need to be a bit clever, a little bit more acute in terms of what we're doing. I don't think Southampton have the most intelligent defence. They don't hold their man very well. They don't track the runs very well. So when they try and crowd us out, like you've said, we just need to be able to make that run and kind of pick that pass.
Yeah. So one thing the Blues have brought up. Go ahead.
Sorry. I think one player that we do need to look out for in terms of like shots and passes from Southampton would definitely be Lallana, because when he played for Liverpool, he was really he was a very effective player. He definitely scores some wonder goals, but he's a player that's quite a bit. He's very technical because he actually came. I think he was recently at Brighton as well. He finished up there, but he's a player we need to watch out for, I think.
Yeah, to your point, Adam, I think there's going to be a couple players here that can score from outside the box. I believe it was Flynn Downs actually that scored their winner from outside the box against Stoke midweek. Wasn't probably a Premier League level strike, but it was with power in the bottom corner. So a couple players from outside the box to pay attention to. So one thing, just responding to the Blues here, we're not saying he can't go forward at all. And I think at the very end of matches, and especially when Fulham played so deep, we could actually box them in a little bit. And yes, he was part of the turnover that led to that goal. So seeing Mykolenko up in an advanced position is actually a really positive sign for the squad. It's then a matter of, can he do it consistently, or is it you kind of blink and you go, oh wait, Mykolenko's forward. How rare is this? We want to see it more consistently throughout matches.
Yeah, no one's saying that he's not allowed to cross the halfway line, because he does. Like we said before that he'll cross it. He won't be getting to the byline and cross it in, but he'll cross it from fairly deep, which means if you look on the infographic in front of us, round about where Kyle Walker-Peters is, so he does get forward and he does press, but he's not a marauding fullback, and he's not going to be constantly overlapping and Njai to create that space. And it's part tactical, it's part Mykolenko's strength sets anyway. So no one's saying there's no hyperbole here. No one's saying that that he can't go past the halfway line. He can do, but it's just nowhere near as much as other teams do.
So we talked about Lindstrom in that role. It's a relatively new sign to see one of the perceived favourites in Jack Harrison not starting today. One of a Leeds fan that jumps on the show from time to time, in Robbie, mentions that they look like they might be taking him back maybe in January. Is that new to you guys? Have you heard much about that?
No, I haven't heard a thing. I mean, I think as part of the contract agreement, unless we want to give him back, they can't. As long as they're in the Premier League, then the contract is, the clause is that he can be loaned out to a Premier League side if Leeds aren't currently in the Premier League for no fee, and the loan team has to pay 100% of his wages. That, as far as I understand it, and I'm pretty confident I understand it well, is how his contract works. So I can't, unless they ask to bring him back and we, for whatever reason, agree, which I could only see being because of the Freaking Group's plans, considering how much he's played, I can't see that happening.
I mean, it's more likely that Nathan Patterson gets transferred out, then we get rid of Harrison and Patterson plays and it jumps in his place, isn't it? So
yeah, 100%. He's already said he wouldn't play Patterson in that position anyway. And I wouldn't. I know you like to call him a Dyche favourite. I know he's preferred for his defensive work, but I do think Dyche is willing to take him out for Jesper Lindstrom. He done it a couple of weeks ago when Lindstrom come in, had a couple of good games early on in the season. So I think that I can't see it happening. I do think he is probably the first choice on the right hand side for Dyche. But it's good to have that healthy competition. I can't see him going into January.
Yeah. So we've got it. What's it look like? About 15 minutes before kickoff here. We've talked about the starting lineup, how we think they're going to score, what we're going to do on our front. What do we think on scoring predictions? Who's going to score? And while we do that, I can also bring up the main goal scorers and those that are expected for XG and XA in this table here as well. So let's go
first, Adam, mate.
Adam, you want to go ahead?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm privileged. 3-0, I reckon.
Southampton?
Yep. Oh, no, it's 3-0 Everton to us. I say it with confidence, mate. It's 3-0 to us.
Yeah, then all of a sudden, Branthwaite will never start another match for Everton and he'll become the 7th centre-back for Chelsea mid-season.
Yeah. No, I reckon in Dye will score.
We'll sell 40 million in the summer, yeah.
I actually reckon DCL is going to get a goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
With his head from the penalty spot?
Head from penalty spot. Oh, I don't know. It might be. I reckon it's going to be a scrappy goal.
Oh, like the one he scored against Luton last year at home where he just it was all on the ground and he just tried to hoof it and got there. Huh?
No, he's going to get a bit of a mop-up goal, I reckon. DCL, he needs a goal. He needs a bit of a confidence boost. You watch, he gets a goal, and then the next couple of games you'll start scoring. But he needs a confidence boost badly.
Every FPL content creator has been saying that for weeks and haven't seen it. So maybe today is the day.
And Dwight's going to get 2 for me in fantasy. So I'm going to be stoked with that. Come on, Dwighty.
Yeah. So. If we quickly look at some of the stats here, funny enough, not very impressive. Actually, not surprising in a way. Southampton goal scoring. The Sugawara, who's played terrible defensively, has the highest assist likelihood, but they don't even have they only have like 2 or 3 registered assists all season. One from Peters and one from Fernandez. In terms of goals scored, Cameron Archer with 2. Aribo and Diblin with 1 each. Howard Bellis contributing with 1. Sugawara with 1 as well. Not that many goals coming from them. So do we expect them to score today? I know Adam said no goals.
No, I had 1-0 before the game. I still think it'll be 1-0, especially with the team that we've put out. So I personally think 1-0 for 42nd minute Iliman Ndiaye.
Yeah, so Peter's thinking 3-0. Ian Clark mentioning the frustration about Branthwaite not starting, but thinking 2-0. Hope sounds more like hope than heart, heart than head. But in all honesty, I don't think that's too crazy. Mr. Toffee is a premium subscriber that often contributes subscriptions to others. Again, thank you for that. Thinking that DCL and Mikolenko, he'll be given the free roam on the back post to.
No, he'll score from halfway.
Score from halfway. Your optimism is fantastic. I will agree with Mr. Toffees. I think today is a 2-1. It'll not be an entertaining. Oh, okay. I don't want to jinx it, but I think it could be pretty cagey for a while, and then it might open up. Similar to what it was last season, where I think it was 2-1. No, 2 years ago when we beat Southampton 2-1. I can see a very similar result.
Yeah, I think that was the year Adam Armstrong scored. He scored pretty early, 20, 30 odd minutes, and then that put a rocket up our backside. And I think we come back and had a decent second half there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Njai scored 2 this season. McNeil for 3. DCL should be scoring a whole bunch more, but he's underperforming his metrics due to his finishing. He's got 2. Beto got his 1. Michael Keane, the surprise packet of the season, with 2 already. Do we see goals coming from anyone else other than them, or are they going to be our main avenues today?
You might see a goal from Lindstrom.
I was about to say the exact same thing. Yeah, if he's able to get, I feel like I'm repeating myself again, but if he gets behind the defense, gets in between defenders, if he can get himself 1-on-1, there's certainly a goal there for him.
Yeah. So I think we're about squared. Do we have any thoughts on the referees, or not really that exciting? The main referee is going to be Andy Madley. Nick Hopton and Mark Perry are the linesmen or assistants. James Bell, I'm not sure I'm that familiar with, as the 4th official, and similar for Matt Donahue in VAR. Any thoughts on those referees for today, or not that exciting?
Relative to the rest in the PGMO, they're not terrible.
Well, hopefully that's a good sign that the Premier League has no stake in the result of this fixture other than the competence on the field. And I guess Corey, are you going to be joining for the full-time match reaction?
I am, yes. Okay. I'll be on not long after full-time for you, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, Adam will be sleeping. If I do join, it'll be very similar to the last stream we did, where I was in for 5 minutes before the likes of Yan and Chad come along. But I believe Yan will be joining Corey for post-match. Keep an eye out for those. As I mentioned, I won't be able to do a watch-along, but I might have time for a halftime reaction show. So keep an eye out for that. It won't be posted early. It'll be kind of immediately at the halftime whistle. I'll just go live immediately. So until next time, up the toffees. And truly, I think we've got every chance today. We should do it, but we'll see what happens, huh?
Up the toffees.
Up the toffees.